I'm here in the furnace room of my studio, and I am going to do an electric motor change out on my forced air furnace squirrel cage. This furnace is running right now, but this electric motor has been giving me fits up in here. It runs intermittently, and it's time to change it out. I'm going to keep this motor on site for a backup, but I'm not going to use it full time. If anything happens to the motor here that I'm putting in, I can go back to this one until I can get a new motor. So right now I'm waiting for the furnace to cycle down, and we'll start taking this thing apart and get it ready to go. I got my trusty parachute bag here. It's awesome. I got all the tools in it I need. My new motor is here. It's awesome. It's exactly what I need. So now I've got to tighten up this pulley on the shaft at the end. So let's do that. Okay, I want this pulley right at the end of this shaft. You can see the key in there. The key is right here. I've got everything ready to tighten this up, so let's do that. On. Okay, my furnace is shut down now, so now I'm going to turn the power off and get this motor changed. So come over here to the access panel here. This breaker right here is my furnace, and that's off. So let's get started. Get the electrical off. Okay, back here there is a belt tightener that I have to get off. I believe that is 1/2 inch. Lock that is loose. And all I think I have to do is pull this up. Spin the belt off, bring it out. Alright, now right here, there's two 9/16 bolts. I think they're 9/16. Let's see. Yes, they are. Now all these have to be is loosened because they run through this slot. I had to do this once a long time ago, so I kind of remember it. And that is out. Access cover. Okay. I think all this needs is loosened. This one has to come out. Now, let's see what we got here. We can put push plugs on. What I've opted to do here is I had a couple of these old extension cord plugs, and when I'm done hooking this up to the motor and to the power that comes from the breaker, all I have to do is plug it in. And that'll take 2 seconds to get that motor out, make it a lot easier. So that's what I'm in the process of doing right now. Now, the reason why I opted to do it this way is because these are copper wire and they're 12-2, and I don't want to run that motor on anything smaller than 12-2, because I think that this 12-2 feeds more electric to the motor, lets it start easier, lets it run cooler. So that's what we're doing. So we need to strip these lines right now. I think this is going to make this job a lot easier. I'll be able to cap the ends. This end will go in the motor and get, I think I'm going to put clips on here. I may have to strip this one a little longer because it doesn't have a clip end. I just realized that on the motor itself. So we'll strip that a little bit longer so we can get our ground on it. And that's that. Now I'll see if I can come up with a couple of pin plugs here and see if we can get this thing done. Alright, I've got these ready. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to crimp these push pin connectors that'll go into the motor on here. I'll put 2 crimps in this. Take, yes. Alright, let's get one on the black. Now, I've got to get this ground. And we will attach that first. Okay, that is good. Tuck those wires up in there. Now, it doesn't really matter, like I said, which side I connect here. There she goes. Okay, that one's on. Let's get this one on. That one's on. Now our wires need to go right here, and our cover needs to go on. Okay. Now that's going to be perfect, because I can come around this side and plug right in. Now I've got to cap these onto the ones that come from the furnace. So we'll do that next. That is all complete and ready to go. These are tightened. Everything's hooked up inside. Get these wound up. I like this 12-2 wire a lot. It's going to give that motor everything it needs. Alright, now I've got to transfer all the hardware off the other motor to this one. So that's next. Since that's not what we needed, we'll put that cover back on to keep the critters out. I need to get these bolts off. Okay, these are small carriage bolts that go up in here. Because this is what, right here is what slides up in that rail. So let's get the other one off. For some reason, these fight me right to the end of the threads, I guess. I'm going to run these down a little bit. That ought to be just right. Now, let's get the belt tightener off. And we'll put it on where it goes, which is the other side. So I am done with this motor for now. Alright, and this goes right here. run this tightener all the way up because I don't know where it's going to need to be. Now we are ready to put this motor in. All right, let's wire this into the power. Okay, ground to ground. These two don't matter. Now this is perfectly safe and acceptable because as you can see here, all bare wires are covered. You just want to make sure you get these good and tight, like that. Now it's time to bring the motor in. Let's see if we can slide this thing on now. And we didn't get the back one. There it is. Now, let's get our belt back on. Boy, that's awful close right there. That is it right there. Because this motor's a little different. Okay, that's pretty tight right there. So let's tighten this down right here. Belt, can it be tightened a little bit more? I think so. I'll tighten it right down to the end. And I think that'll probably do it. Yep. And you have to lock the lock nut down, or this will work loose. And if it does, it'll start to throw the belt. This is the only part of it you really can't see. It's tight. Belt looks great. Running true and in line. This is plugged to here. Now we need to check rotation on our motor. So we need to start the furnace back up, and then I'll start the blower motor back up and hope it runs this way. Now I got to see if my motor turns the right way, so we need to turn our breaker back on. Okay. Let's get the furnace fired up and see what happens. Hallelujah! She runs the right way! My rotation was perfect on this. But you can see here, these are the push pins that I attached here and down here. If you have the wrong rotation, you can't exchange the ones that I did because you have only common and power. What has to happen is you have to go in here. This is black, this is red, right there where my pointer's pointing. If you don't have the right rotation, which I did have, you exchange this pin and this pin. You put black here and red here. That'll change the rotation of your motor. So I thought I should explain that, even though I didn't have to do it. There you go. If you need to change rotation, exchange this one for this one. Just that simple. And that is how you replace a blower motor in a squirrel cage. This is my forced air furnace in my studio, and the other motor, like I say, was giving me trouble. So I ordered this motor, checked around on prices. For the motor that I had in this originally, they wanted $400. I ended up getting this motor online, and with shipping and tax it was $120. It's a single phase 115 motor, so if you do your shopping you can find pretty good prices on stuff. So I'm very happy with the way this installation went. My studio is being heated again. Alright, I got my wire back on here like it needs to be. Everything's done with the motor. Don't have to do anything more to that. Now I'm going to have to put my filter in. So let's do that. Let's put our filter in. It's easier to do that before I put this top back on. Lays in just like that. It filters the air as you go. just like that. It's not. There we go. That. And this job is done. The motor had to be replaced on this. I put the other motor, the old one, right here on the floor. Like I say, it was still working, but it was kind of intermittent. It was giving me problems. Sometimes it wouldn't start right. So I'm just thinking that one thing that I probably screwed up on over the years is I always come over here and I always lubricate my squirrel cage. And you can see right here that there is a lubrication point on this motor. Now the other motor that I just put in does not have that, but I didn't know that had that. If I would have known that had that, I would have been lubricating that motor all along. So I think what might have happened is this motor dried out, the bearings got dried out in it. I don't know if it cooked it or not. I mean, it was still running when I took it out, so this is a good backup motor. If I need a backup motor, this will be fine. Like I say, I can get this put back in relatively quickly. I can get myself back up and running and keep heating here anytime I need to until I can get another motor and put in. Now this is an older style furnace. It's a forced air. Up here in this plenum is the air conditioning unit that you can see the hoses for here. And it's also got a water to air exchanger in here that will run off my wood stove as well. So even though this is a good old gas furnace and it runs great and it's running on gas right now, when I change over to wood outside, this shuts it down. The unit right here, this has a setting on it, and when the water temperature goes down below like 90 degrees, the gas will come on, and when the water temperature is above 90 degrees, the gas furnace will shut off and change it over to wood. And these right here is where my heat exchanger is for this water to air exchanger. So it works great. That's how you change it, and you have to have that blower motor running all the time on the squirrel cage to either cool the place, to warm the studio, or to heat it with wood. It has to operate at all times. So I have to have this on. Now all these are pretty much the same. Some of the newer ones are direct drive, some of them are still belt drive, but the process is pretty much the same. You have a squirrel cage inside that spins and forces air up through here. Your fresh air return is here, as your squirrel cage has to force the air up in and pull the air back out. And whether it's direct drive, whether it's belt drive, whether it's old, whether it's new, they all work exactly the same. So as far as it all goes, you can definitely do these kind of jobs yourself. You don't have to count on anybody to do it. As far as I'm concerned, if I can do it, you can do it. Go ahead and do it. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.